Would you be willing to do that? I'd be willing. You want me to talk just to you because that's what you say. Don't you write all your talks for me? I write all my talks just for you. It was nice that she said,
wait.
What'd you say, Bonnie?
Share, please.
She says that, if you guys want to listen too, that's good. So really, they're all for me. Oh, okay. Every single one of these is for me in some way, shape, or form. So today we're talking about navigating big changes. I can't tell you how often I hear people say, I don't like change. I don't like change. So's the one in the balcony. To make the point here that that's really not true, that you don't like change, let's start with this. Imagine having to eat a bowl of cornflakes for every meal every single day.
Boring.
Still don't like change? Okay, how about your underwear? Makes the point, right? So when people say they don't really like change, it's actually not that true. It's a constant experience for us. It's a natural experience for us. Here on this earthly plane, we are changing all the time. One of the easiest ways to see that is the minute you hear that somebody's pregnant, and you see the changes that are happening within their body, and then the baby is born, there's nothing but change, is there? It's a constant, natural thing that we are always changing. In this philosophy, we say that God, or Spirit, or the one source, or whatever you like to call it, because it really doesn't matter. We believe in one power, but you can call it what feels right for you. That presence, that energy must be one thing, and therefore changeless. Because what would God change into? So the God source, the presence, is only one and can't change. And yet we, as God's creations, are always changing. It's just part of our nature. So when people say, oh, well, I don't really like change, what I get is that some of the changes are easy and we hardly notice. Some of the changes kick our butt. And those are the ones that we say we don't like. It's the big changes, yes? Yeah. That we say we don't like. So getting down to the nitty-gritty, it's the big changes. Divorce, illness, moving, change of career, death. It's the big changes that we have a hard time with because they're the ones that hit us really, really deeply. The size of the change, big or little, does not matter to that one source, but it certainly matters a lot to us because we're the ones who have to go through it. We're the ones who have to find a way to navigate it in some way, shape, or form. I don't know about you, but any big change requires so much courage. It requires a courage that sometimes I think I don't even have. And what I know is that if I begin to take one step toward that change, the courage shows up. And it shows up especially when I remember to turn within to the God of my understanding. That the courage that I need, the trust that I need, that I will get through this, as Debbie's saying, it's the storm, not you, that's bound to blow away. The stuff around us will change. You've all heard this too shall pass. Calling on our courage, calling on our belief, calling on the faith in something that's greater than we are is what we're called to do here. And I know, like most of us, we go through the day and we forget. We forget, oh yes, I have a silent partner. I have God within me. That's where we believe it is, by the way. God is out here in the sense that God is everywhere. But the only place that we're really going to find it is inside of us. When we close our eyes and when we get quiet and when we listen within. And that's there where I find my courage. Some days, I'm going to be real honest. If I'm doing what I would call spinning, you know those times when you feel like you just can't get a grip on anything, and you're just spinning in your mind and your life feels out of control, that's the time that we usually forget, and that's when we need it the most. That's when sitting down, taking some deep breaths and getting real quiet and say, what do I believe in greater than me? That would come in real handy, and it doesn't matter where you find that God. So like my friend was telling me this morning, we can be on our bikes in nature, riding, looking for the God within, because it's not out there necessarily. I tell people at work, when you're spinning at work and you've got no place to have some sort of quiet time, go to the bathroom stall and just sit quiet and listen and turn within. No, that was not, no. That was not a reference. joke going on over here. That was not a reference. It's a place of privacy that we can turn into sometimes. So finding that place within, finding that inner peace is so, so important. And I need to take a breath. I want to share with you a story of a friend of mine. This friend, her name is Jan. And for 25, 26 years, she had a beloved partner named Bonnie. This was one of those couples that you knew they were a good one. That was one of those couples that was going to last. And they had a good relationship. Not without its challenges like any relationship that helps us grow, but one of the good ones. 3 years ago, Bonnie was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Long story short, she didn't have much time left on this planet. And the way they handled the end of Bonnie's life was, it was gut-wrenching for me and beautiful for me at the same time. Watching the two of them go through this dance, and Bonnie clearly said, I'm not going through all the chemo, and I'm not going through all these surgeries. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to go gracefully. Watching them go through that transition was really, it was beautiful in a lot of ways. And so then Bonnie passes away, and Jan has to figure out her life. She was navigating the biggest change that I think anybody can go through, the loss of a loved one, whether it be a spouse, a parent, a child. That loss, even though we might believe there's more to life after this flesh, it still just rips your heart out. Everything that they had planned for their future changed. Every bit of their monetary, how we're going to figure this out together, changed. The person that Jen came home to at the end of a long day to talk to changed. No second person in their home changed. The one who created the beauty was Bonnie. Changed. Watching her go through this was really intense. And I'm bringing this up because she navigated this change in what I would call a very graceful way. Graceful meaning she didn't give a stiff upper lip. She didn't say, oh yeah, I'm fine. She didn't do that. She cried, she screamed. She wrote on a blog on a Caring Bridge page. Does anybody know what the Caring Bridge is?
Yep.
If you don't, it's worth checking into. A lot of times people will open up a Caring Bridge page when somebody is ill. And that way you can correspond with this person without overwhelming them with phone calls and visits. You can respond to this page. After Bonnie passed, she kept the page going. And she talked about her grief. And she talked about her pain. And she talked about every single day in such a poetic way. And I don't think she tried to be poetic, but she was letting herself be authentic. She was letting herself say, today, this moment, I'm hurting so bad I can barely get out of bed. And then maybe 2 hours she would get out of bed and she would go have lunch with a friend and she'd find a few moments of smiles. And then maybe by the end of the day when she's going to bed again alone, she would say, right now, the pain is so unbearable, I can't hardly stand it. Now my friend Jen is not a drinker, so she couldn't go bury herself in a nice glass of red wine like I might have. Yeah. She does have a very strong faith, however. And so she kept saying to herself, I know that God is going to pull me through this. But she, every moment, every day, every step, she said what was true for her. She didn't try to hide it. It was grace-filled when she said to friends, you may call me and I may not be able to respond. Please don't take it personal and know that I appreciate it. But I may not be able to reach out to you. Don't take it personal. She let friends know, the small circle that was closest to her, I really would like you to be here today, and they would be there in a heartbeat. She asked for what she needed, moment by moment, as she navigated this big change. Little by little, you can hear that the pain was easing up. Little by little, you can hear the smiles were returning. Little by little, she started to experience more of life again. Mind you, she didn't hide. She kept walking through the paces. She kept moving step by step, but also at the same time admitting the craziness going on inside. Now it's 2.5 years, and she got a new car, and she got a personalized license plate, and the license plate says, risk joy.